Okay. The next step is to find the tip of the coffin bone. Typically 3/4 of an inch in most feet to an inch forward of the true apex is where we'll find it. In order to eliminate and become more accurate, eliminate the fudge factor, we're going to use the apex of the frog, because we now know that this inch is accurate by these three references here. So we're going to measure from the widest part of the foot forward 1 3/4 inches. Okay. Typically, 1/4 of an inch forward of that is going to give us our point of breakover. Okay. Now in most feet you can sort of feel the little swelling here in the pillars. I haven't exfoliated this right down tight to the live sole, but with these measurements we're going to be very, very close to the breakover point that we've established here. Now this being a barefooted horse, you see I still have a little bit of white protective material over here. I've cleaned it up, gotten rid of all of the fractures, the sole fractures. And I'm very clean right here. I know that I've got the live sole here. This is a safe zone. I'm going to leave a little bit of extra over here because this is a barefooted horse. Now, because we're going to leave a little bit of hoof wall above, you'll notice that my marker is lying almost horizontal to the sole, and I'm going to make a mark well above the sole line in this region here, from the breakover point back 3/4 of an inch to an inch. Okay, I'm going to do the same on this side. I think you need to be very specific about this, because this little extra height of wall is going to offer protection to this potentially fragile segment of the sole through the transitioning period of a fresh trim until this sole can get hardened back up again. Okay, this line, horizontal line, a little, to make sure that when you trim above the line, both sides, and then you can rocker everything from there forward. You'll notice this foot is already rolled some. We're going to just duplicate that. Okay, we're going to evaluate our ratios now, and we're going to use our rear bearing structure, which is the heel at this point, measure from the widest part of the foot and go forward. And we can see that there's nearly a 60-40 ratio difference between the back part and the front part. Our goal is to balance these ratios out and make the back part increase its length. And because this heel grows in a forward position and it's forward of this mark in the frog, we feel we can take this heel back to increase this distance here and meet our goals of 50-50 or better. The reason for the mapping is to see if we can achieve what we set out to do. And if we have our lines in the wrong spot, let's say that the widest part of the foot, the line was more forward, and that put our breakover line in 1/4 or 3/8 of an inch farther forward, it may be unachievable then to meet a 50-50 ratio or a greater distance in the back. That's why it's so important to get this line established correctly in relationship to the center of articulation, or at least to the center of the pivot point of the foot. So, trimming, we have our marks at the pillar point above the level of the sole. We're going to start our trim. You can see where part of this is already broken away, and it's broken down to the level of the sole already. We're just going to complete that process. We're going to start behind that black line that I've drawn. And I'm going to go right to the level of the sole, and I'm just going to snip out what was already started, and I'm going to just elevate a little bit, and I'll finish this heel off after I get done. The same thing is true here. Start behind that line, go right to the level of the sole, and approximately halfway through the bars I'll start to raise my nippers, causing a scoop in that toe pillar. Now the next step is to, above the line, start trimming. Trim above that line, and you can go forward. As you get forward of the breakover line, you can tip your nippers slightly forward to kind of help you with rolling that toe. Don't forget, however, though, when you get back to this side, to level your nippers out and come through above this black line that I've established here. Okay? I always finish the heels off first, and when I've prepared this with the nippers, I've left kind of a scoop in this area. I want to flatten this heel off so that I have a portion of the bars joining up with that. There should be, I'll go back and I'll re-evaluate, there should be just a little bit of chalkiness in that area, a little bit of chalkiness right there, and that means that I'm plenty conservative. I can take that down a little bit more if I need to, but right now I have the frog taking precedence over the height of the heels. So now this spot in the back part of the frog is the last bearing surface, and my ratios now are greater in the back than they are in the front, using my breakover line as a guide. Okay. Next step is to establish that breakover, and I'm going to have a high spot here in line with that breakover line that I've established. I've left my height of my wall above the sole. I can touch through this area right here, because right here is where the bearing surface is on the front pillars, is actually on the wall. So I can take as much of this back into that sole as I need to. If you feel as though you need to, you can come back and test that with your hoof testers, and actually right next to the wall, inside of the white line, you can squeeze all that you want to squeeze, and seldom will you ever get sensation. You can go back here and get some reaction, but this is where the horse is bearing the weight over this pillar area behind this breakover. So don't be afraid to get into that just a little bit. You have to be able to have wall above here in order to do that. If you take this wall down all the way to the level of the sole and then rocker the toe, you're going to have a sore horse. They're going to be sore-footed. So the more height that you have here, you can regulate subtly. After you're all done, if it's really too high and there's over a quarter of an inch, you may want to reduce a little bit of it, and you can do that after you're done. You always want to have a little bit above the level of the sole. Okay, you can kind of smooth up the quarters. Don't be afraid to roll your rasp through that area just a little bit. Take it right down to the level of the sole. You can put your rasp at an angle here if you like. Just gives you kind of a radius of the wall. You can do a little bit around. The thing that you'll want to evaluate at this point is that from the edge of the sole to the outer wall is a greater thickness or width than there is and the edge of the sole to the outer wall here. The toe pillars are extremely wide on this particular foot. We're going to take care of that from the front side as we groom the dorsal wall. We want this to be uniform all the way around. Okay. As you can see, the thickness, the width from the sole to the outer wall is less here than it is here. So we're going to eliminate these two pillars. We don't want to have two big pry bars out here pulling this wall away. You can actually see these two lateral and medial toe pillars, how they've sort of been pushed out. And so we're going to just eliminate. You can take a straight line from here down. You can see it from here. You can see that bulge starts clear up on right up in this area here. The last thing we want to do is have a square foot. This has actually got a perimeter on it that's uniform from this side to the other. The only difference is that it has that natural wear underneath here. Same thing that you see on a well-worn shoe. Okay, you rocker this at about the thumb's width above in the back part. You raise your rasp up. Slip your thumb under there and try to assume that basic angle, and you'll be just about right. Any greater an angle doesn't do any good. A little flatter is oftentimes acceptable. So just don't get too steep with that rocker.